Welcome to Info Sounds by InfoDrip, your go-to source for insightful discussions and explorations. Each week, we break down complex ideas into clear, engaging conversations designed to inform and inspire.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive,
Ooh, deep
a
dive.
deep dive into a cybersecurity breach
Okay.
that's been making waves in Kenya.
Right.
Essentially, what we have is
Mhm.
a country really trying to position itself as a digital powerhouse in Africa,
I see.
and then bam,
Yeah.
they get hit with this huge data leak. So we're talking about the Kenyan Business Registration Service,
Okay.
the BRS,
Okay.
got compromised,
Right.
and we're going to be using a report from InfoDrip,
Okay.
which is a leading cybersecurity firm,
Gotcha.
to kind of walk us through what happened. So
Uh-huh.
not only are they going to be breaking down the breach itself, but they also uncover some like really unsettling stuff
Oh.
about Kenya's digital infrastructure.
All right.
So like what I found really kind of fascinating about this whole thing
Yeah.
is that it's not just like, oh, there was one little, oopsie. This breach like really reveals some vulnerabilities that have
Yeah.
been like brewing under the surface for
All
a
right.
while now.
Mm-hmm.
So to set the scene,
Okay.
InfoDrip pinpoints February 1st, 2025 as D-Day,
Okay.
the day that the BRS database was breached.
Gotcha.
And now, to give you some context, the BRS is basically like the
Yeah.
heart of Kenyan business.
Oh, wow.
It holds all this super sensitive data
Okay.
from thousands of registered companies and partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about stuff like details about their leadership,
Yeah.
business relationships, and even like, their financial dealings
Oh, wow.
and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Ended up on B2B Hint, which is a platform that specializes in like
Right.
business intelligence.
Right. Right.
But here's the thing that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Sole proprietorships were totally unaffected.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were untouched by this whole thing.
Interesting.
And that little detail, it seems kind of important, right?
Mhm. It does. Yeah. That's a good catch. So that fact that the sole proprietorships were like totally untouched
No.
suggests that like these attackers were specifically going after entities with
Right.
like more complex ownership structures.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, this kind of indicates a pretty sophisticated operation.
Oh, wow.
Like maybe they were aiming to exploit these like intricacies of corporate ownership,
Right.
for illicit gains,
Mhm.
things like, money laundering, even like blackmail.
It's kind of scary, right? Because like I feel like
Yes.
we always hear about data breaches like in this abstract way,
Right.
but it's easy to forget the
Yeah.
real world impact
Totally.
on people and businesses.
Yeah.
And this report really like
Yeah,
brings those consequences like front and center.
absolutely. So imagine you're like a company director
Right.
and suddenly all your personal info, like your home address, your ID number, all that, it's plastered all over a platform known for like corporate espionage.
Oh my God.
It's not even just the threat of identity theft
All right.
or, phishing scams.
Right.
It's that like chilling feeling that your personal security and your family's too
Yeah.
has been compromised.
Wow.
Like it's scary. And
Yeah.
then it's not even just individuals who are at risk here.
Right.
The report lays out pretty clearly just
Mhm.
how much damage this has done to companies themselves.
Yeah.
Like imagine this.
Yeah.
You're a company, you're trying to secure a big contract,
Right.
and then suddenly your competitor has access to like your entire bidding strategy.
Oh, wow.
Like your profit margins, your client list.
Right.
It's like you're handing them the keys to your like whole kingdom.
Yeah.
This breach has basically stripped these companies
Yeah.
of their competitive edge,
Right.
and it's potentially undermining years of like hard work,
Oh, yeah.
strategic planning.
Yeah. Didn't they also mention something about like legal vulnerabilities too?
Yes, that's a really important point.
Okay.
So Kenya, like a lot of countries,
Mm-hmm.
right, has really strict regulations on beneficial ownership,
Uh-huh.
which are designed to like prevent money laundering and tax evasion.
Mm-hmm.
So now like put yourself in the shoes of a company that's been like really carefully following all the rules,
Right.
only to have your like super sensitive ownership structure just
Gosh.
out there for the world to see.
So it's a compliance nightmare.
Totally. It's created this like compliance nightmare for businesses,
Yeah.
which could open them up to legal challenges and like totally trash their reputation.
So we've seen how this breach has like really impacted
Yeah.
individuals and businesses.
Right.
But I'm kind of curious,
Yeah.
how did this even happen in the first place?
Right.
Like, how did this
Yeah.
slick through the cracks?
Yeah.
Like, InfoDrift's analysis points to some, like, pretty glaring weakness
Yeah.
in the BRS system itself.
Okay.
And honestly, one of the most shocking
Yeah.
things was that they were using this, like, outdated database software
Oh, wow.
that was just, like, riddled with vulnerabilities.
Wow.
It's like they were using, like, a wooden door
Right.
in a digital world.
Yeah.
Like, offering little to no resistance to anyone who, like, wanted to get in.
Right.
And then to make matters worse, sensitive info, like financial data and ID numbers, were just stored there
Yeah.
without any encryption.
Oh, my God.
Like, it's basically like leaving all your valuables
Right.
just out in the open
Yeah.
for anyone to take.
Wow.
And get this,
What?
they didn't even have real-time intrusion detection systems. Like, hello, Cybersecurity 101.
I know.
Like, they were totally blind to the attack while it was happening.
Gosh, that's like basic stuff.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder, though, that cybersecurity isn't just about, like, fancy tech.
Right.
It's about getting the basics right and using them well.
Yeah.
This could have been totally prevented.
Right.
Or at least, like, the damage could have been way less if
Yeah.
they had just put some basic security in place.
This isn't just about one system failing, though, is it?
Right, exactly.
It seems like these vulnerabilities are, like, signs
Yeah.
of a much bigger problem
Yeah,
in Kenya's digital infrastructure.
totally.
Like, they even drew parallels to the 2022 National Cybersecurity Audit,
Right, right.
which, if I remember correctly, flagged a lot of these same issues.
Yeah, it's like a repeat.
That's like deja vu.
Yeah,
Except this time, the consequences are way worse.
for sure. Way worse.
So what we're looking at here is like a systemic failure
Yeah.
to actually address these cybersecurity risks.
Right. They had the warning, the, flashing red light.
They knew,
Totally.
but it seems like they just didn't do anything.
Yeah, it didn't do
To
anything.
make things even worse.
Yeah.
InfoDrip found no evidence that the BRS even got the required
Oh, wow.
cybersecurity certification that are mandated by Kenya's Data Protection Act.
So not only is it negligence, it's just like blatant disregard for the rules that are literally supposed to protect this data.
It's like the system's not only vulnerable,
Right.
but it's operating outside the law.
Yeah. It's like the Wild West
Yeah.
of data.
So this is pointing to some serious governance gaps, wouldn't you say?
Totally.
It's like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing.
Yeah.
And as a result, we've got this digital landscape riddled with weaknesses.
Right.
But, like, who's responsible here?
Right.
Like, where does the buck stop?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
So InfoDrip highlights this like fragmented nature of cybersecurity oversight in Kenya.
Okay.
Responsibility is like all over the place.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's scattered across multiple agencies.
Right.
And that just leads to like nobody really being accountable. Right.
And this bureaucratic mess
Yeah.
just creates so much confusion that it basically stops anything from getting done.
So it's not just technical failures.
Yeah.
It's like a lack of leadership
Yeah, lack of leadership.
and coordination.
Or coordination.
And this lack of leadership
Yeah.
becomes even more obvious
Mm-hmm.
when we look at the government's response to the breach.
Right.
Or, should I say, the lack of response?
It's been cricket.
Crickets, yeah.
It's been crickets.
It really has. Like, you'd think they'd be, like, scrambling to
Yeah.
reassure people, like, businesses and the public
Uh-huh.
lay out, like, some sort of plan.
Yeah.
Or at least just acknowledge what happened.
Yeah.
But nope,
Nope.
nothing.
It's like they think it'll just go away
Yeah.
if they ignore it long enough.
Like, if they just pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But come on, this is the digital age.
Right.
Like, silence is not a good look. Definitely not a strategy.
It just makes things worse.
It erodes trust, you know?
Totally. Like, how can anyone trust a system
Right.
that can't even admit when they mess up?
Exactly.
Like, even if they didn't have all the answers right away,
Mhm.
just saying, hey, we know something's wrong
Right.
and we're going to figure this out
Yeah.
would have gone a long way.
Totally.
And the report even mentioned
Yeah.
that this silence is, like, impacting more than just Kenya.
Right.
Like, international organizations like the World Bank,
Mm-hmm.
they're starting to get worried about Kenya's whole cybersecurity situation.
Yeah. Doesn't look good.
And what does that say to, like, potential investors
Mm.
and, like, global partners.
It sends a bad message like, hey, we're vulnerable and we're not really ready for this.
Right. And Kenya's been working so hard
I know.
to become like this digital hub in Africa.
Yeah.
But now this breach, and then the government just like
ignoring.
being quiet.
Yep.
It's like they're shooting themselves in the foot.
It's hurting their reputation.
Yeah. So it's not just the businesses and individuals dealing with this mess.
Right.
Now, the country's reputation is on the line, too.
Exactly.
It seems like this silence is just backfiring.
Big time.
But amidst all this chaos, InfoDrip does offer some, like, glimmers of hope.
Okay, good.
Their report outlines some concrete steps.
Right.
For both, like, immediate action and long-term fixes.
I like the sound of that.
So what can they do? Like, how do they turn this whole thing around?
So first things first, they got to address the immediate crisis.
Right.
InfoDrip suggests putting together a national cybersecurity task force.
Okay, so like a dedicated team.
Yeah, like a SWAT team for cyber stuff.
Okay, so they'd be in charge of investigating the breach.
Exactly.
Figuring out how bad the damage is, and then helping those businesses and people who got hit.
Yep, all of that.
That makes sense. Having, like, a group focused on this could help cut through all that red tape. That always seems to slow things down.
Definitely.
And they also talked about making breach disclosure laws.
Right.
Like, mandatory. So right now, there's no rule that says the government or businesses have to report these things.
No, not really.
So they can just keep it quiet.
Very much.
That doesn't seem very helpful.
It's not. It lets them sweep things under the rug.
Right, and then nobody learns from the mistakes.
Exactly.
They say aligning with those African Union standards for disclosure would be a good place to start.
Yeah, that's a good framework.
So it's like, right now, it's don't ask, don't tell.
Basically.
Which helps no one.
Nobody.
People deserve to know if their data's been compromised.
Right.
And companies should be held accountable for keeping that data safe.
For sure.
Okay, so that's for the immediate stuff.
Right.
What about long-term?
For the long haul,
Yeah.
InfoDrip really stresses investing,
Okay.
but not just throwing money at the problem,
Right.
being strategic about it, modernizing that critical digital infrastructure.
So like updating those old systems we talked about?
Yeah.
Making sure encryption's up to par?
Yeah.
And actually having those intrusion detection systems in place?
I'm gonna have those.
Sounds like a huge undertaking.
It is. It's a big job.
But I guess if Kenya really wants to be a digital leader,
Right.
they got to have a solid foundation.
The foundation is key.
So it's about building an infrastructure that's not just like fancy and efficient,
Right.
but also secure and resilient.
Secure and resilient. Yeah.
And it's not just about the tech either, right?
Right. It's about people, too.
Okay.
They recommend centralizing cybersecurity oversight.
So instead of having it all spread out,
Yeah, get it all under one roof.
which is causing all this confusion,
And action.
there'd be one agency in charge of cybersecurity for the whole country.
Exactly. One central authority.
That sounds promising.
It could be.
But, I mean, putting all that power in one place,
Right.
couldn't that make it a bigger target?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah, like, wouldn't that make them more vulnerable?
So to avoid that,
Yeah.
you got to build in some redundancies.
Okay, like backups.
Kinda. So if one part of the network goes down,
Right.
the whole system doesn't crash.
Okay, so it's about making sure the agency itself
Right.
isn't the weak link
Exactly.
and being transparent about what they're doing.
Totally. Transparency and accountability are key.
So it's like checks and balances,
Yeah.
just like any other part of the government.
Exactly.
And they'd need all kinds of experts, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Not just tech people,
Right.
but legal experts,
Oh.
policy people, even like social scientists.
Yeah, to understand the human side of things.
You mentioned standards before.
Right.
What were those specific things InfoDrip recommended?
So they specifically mentioned ISO IE 7001 certification
Okay.
for all government databases.
And that's not just like a formality.
No, it's a big deal.
Okay.
It's a whole process.
Yeah.
Where they have to set up a comprehensive information security management system.
So it's about actually proving
Yeah.
that they're following best practices.
Exactly. It's about walking the walk.
But even with all that, people still make mistakes?
Oh, for sure. Human error is always a factor.
I mean, how do you account for that?
Well, that's where that private-public collaboration comes in again. It's
Okay.
about sharing info about threats
Mm-hmm.
so everyone can be prepared
Makes sense.
and training people.
Right, so everyone knows what to do.
Exactly.
So it's about tackling the immediate issues
Yep.
and building a more secure future.
At the same time.
It's going to take technology,
Yeah.
policy changes,
Uh-huh.
and making sure people have the knowledge and tools to handle all this.
It's a multi-pronged approach.
There's no easy fix.
No quick fix. Nope.
It's going to take a lot of work and everyone working together.
Collaboration is key.
So the big question is, how can governments and businesses team up to build these systems that can actually withstand these cyber threats?
That's the challenge.
That's what we need to figure out.
That's the question that's going to keep us busy as we move deeper into this digital world.
And it's a question we'll keep exploring in part 3.
Absolutely.
Where we'll look at what this breach means in the bigger picture.
Right.
And what lessons we can learn for building a more secure future.
A better future.
Not just in Kenya.
Right.
But everywhere.
Globally.
Globally, yeah. So we've really gotten into the nitty-gritty of this breach.
We have.
Explored how the government's lack of responses played out. And looked at what InfoDrip suggests for a more secure future.
Yeah.
But, what does this all really mean?
Right.
This whole situation, the breach, the silence, it feels like a wake-up call.
It is a wake-up call, definitely.
Right.
Cybersecurity isn't just an IT problem anymore.
Yeah.
It affects everything.
It really does.
National security, the economy, whether people trust the system, even our individual freedoms.
Yeah.
This whole thing in Kenya and how InfoDrip broke it all down.
Right.
It's a lesson for any country that's going digital.
It's like they're saying, hey, this could be you.
Totally.
Are you ready for this?
Are you prepared?
Yeah.
It makes you think about some tough questions.
It does.
How do we balance all the good stuff technology brings with the risks that come with it? How do we build systems that are both innovative and safe?
Yeah.
How do we make sure cybersecurity is baked into every decision we make?
Those are some big questions.
They are.
And maybe we don't have all the answers right now.
Not yet.
But at least we're acknowledging the problem.
Recognizing how complex it is.
Yeah, it's not just about building bigger walls and fancier software.
It's more than that.
Cybersecurity is always changing.
It's a moving target.
It's about tech, how people act, and even societal values.
It's all connected.
So it's not just tech solutions. It's about awareness.
Yes, educating people.
Yeah.
Helping them make smart choices. And making sure everyone feels responsible for protecting our digital world, which brings us back to that collaboration point.
Right. InfoDrip was big on that.
The problems we're facing online are too big for anyone to handle alone.
Right.
We need governments, businesses, regular people, all working together, sharing what they know, pooling resources, coordinating a plan.
That makes sense, but there's been a lot of tension between governments and businesses.
For sure.
When it comes to sharing data.
Trust is a big issue.
So how do we fix that?
Well, that's where those legal frameworks and data protection rules come in.
Okay, like clear guidelines.
Yeah, set the rules of the game.
Make everything transparent.
And make sure people are held accountable. That's how you build trust and get people working together.
So it's about a system where everyone feels like their data is safe.
Safe and being used responsibly.
Finding that balance between security and privacy.
Right, and between innovation and responsibility.
This whole deep dive into Kenya's cybersecurity issues, it's been really eye-opening.
It has.
It's shown us how vulnerable we are in this connected world, how important it is to be proactive.
Absolutely.
And how we need to work together to find solutions.
Collaboration is key.
It also shows how important the government is.
Right.
In setting those standards, enforcing the rules, and making sure people understand cybersecurity. But I think the biggest takeaway is that this isn't just some abstract idea.
Right.
It's not just a problem for tech people to figure out.
It affects all of us.
We all have a part to play.
In making a safer digital future.
So think about your own digital life.
Yeah.
Are you doing what you need to do to protect your information?
Are you aware of the risks?
The more we know,
the better off we'll be.
That's it for our deep dive today.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions,
and keep diving deep.
See you all next time.